The first random sampling method we're going to discuss is simple random sampling. This is probably the sampling method you thought of when I first talked about random sampling. Simple random sampling. Okay? In simple random sampling, every member of the population has an equal chance of being chosen. Now, that's not anything special. Any random sampling method, that's a feature we want. So every member has an equal chance of being chosen for the population, or for the sample rather. Okay, so if you're in a room full of 100 people and they're sampling, say, 10 people, every member of that population has the same chance of being chosen. All of those 100 people have the same chance of being chosen. It doesn't matter where you're standing in the room. It doesn't matter how tall you are. None of that. Everyone has the same chance. Okay? And every member is chosen independently. What does that mean? That means it doesn't matter who's chosen before you, you still have the same chance of being chosen. Every member is chosen independently. Okay? So say the person right next to you is chosen for the sample. Okay? They don't go and say, well, we already got someone from your row, so we're not going to pick you now. No, every member is chosen independently. It doesn't matter who else has been chosen. You might still be chosen. Your chance does not change. Okay? This will make a little more sense if we look at an example. Okay? This is a list of students in a class. All right? And say we want to pick 6 students. We want to randomly sample 6 students to be in a study group together. We want to randomly sample 6 students for a study group. Well, how do we pick? Well, notice that each person, each student in this class has a number by them. We can use those numbers to help us randomly choose 6 students for this study group. Okay, so we're going to use our calculator to help us out. Okay, we're going to use that sample function we learned about, and we want to pick 6 of these 30 students. Okay. If we look, just to confirm, there are 30 students total. Okay, we start at the first student is number 1, the last student's number 30, and we want 6 of them. So we're going to use those numbers to help us out here. Okay, so I want to pick between student 1 and student 30. And how many of them do I want? Well, I want 6 people in my study group, so I'm going to choose 6 of them. The sample function by default just does a simple random sample. It just picks 6 of these numbers randomly. It does not care what it chose before. Okay, chooses them all independently. They all have the same chance of being chosen. So I'm just going to use this function as it is because that's what a simple random sample is. This is what it does. Okay, click evaluate, and I get 6 numbers chosen randomly. Okay. So I get 8, 9, 29, 28, 27, and 25. So I'm going to move this over here so I can still see it. And we're going to identify which students are now in our group. So we have student number 8. That's Hong. We have student number 9. That's Hubler. We have student 29, Wei, student 28, Tran, student 27, Talai, and student 25, Slade. Now, we chose this perfectly randomly. Notice it doesn't necessarily feel random, right? we didn't get anyone from this second column here. And a lot of the people we did get just happened to be right next to each other numerically, right? 8 is right next to 9. 27, 28, and 9 are right next to each other, and 25 isn't that far. So is this really random? Yes. Just because it doesn't feel random doesn't mean it isn't random. Remember, we do not have a good intuition for what random is. That's why we're using the computer, okay? The computer might spit out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That still could be chosen randomly, right? But it doesn't meet our intuition for randomness. Even if it is chosen randomly, if instead we put these names in a hat and shook it around, we could get these 5 people in a row. That would still be random, okay? So just because something doesn't necessarily look random doesn't mean it isn't random, okay? So we used the computer and we randomly selected 6 people here. The first person we chose was Hong. And because it's simple random sampling, nothing changed once we chose that. We just kind of struck them off the list, say, we've already chosen this person, move on, and then we randomly select someone who was from what was left. The next person the computer picked was 9. It happened to be right next to Hong. Okay? And that's fine, because it could have chosen any of the 29 people that were left, and it chose person 9, Hubler. Okay? That's fine. That's one of the people it could have picked. Okay? And it picked it randomly. And then it was 29, and then 28, then 27, and then 25. Okay? And so that's simple random sampling. It's just randomly selecting at each step. Okay? And we saw how to do that with a computer.